So we'll go ahead and get started, let others drop in. And really excited to see those of you who are here now on time joining us for Vera Solutions Agentforce for Nonprofits. We are really excited to be with you here today and to share and explore and think together around all of the different possibilities that Agentforce brings. But first, sharing our experience and getting a little bit comfortable uh, with how this whole thing works and what it is. So I am going to start off the presentation, tell you a little bit about myself and Alan Geddes, who will be joining us today as well. So I'm Mike Newbig. I am the Business Development Manager for North America. I have an education background for quite some time and then have been working at Vera, loving the fact that we are so mission focused. It's a very collaborative, kind organization, and we appreciate the missions that each one of you bring as you're here today. With that being said, I'll let Alan intro himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alan. I'm based in São Paulo in Brazil. I'm currently the Business Development Director for the Americas, so covering Latin America and North America. I've been with Vera for about 10 years, more on the implementation side before. I was a client of Vera for 3 years. I worked in the nonprofit sector for 15 years before getting deep into the tech sector. So very happy to be sharing some of our experience in the last few months with AI and with some of our clients and some of you who are here that are also our clients. So thanks for making the time. We are recording this, so feel free to share this with other folks afterwards as well. Thank you.
Great. And Alan and I work closely together. Hopefully that will come through in our presentation. He's a great person. I hope some of you get a chance to speak with him on the side, work with him as well. So not to avoid any confusion or to create any confusion, but we are presenting this on Menti. So you will see a code and some information at the top that we'll use later when we get into a little bit of polling. Just to go through a little bit of our goals at a high level today, it's very interactive. We want you to relax, to have fun, to engage, and all of us just to connect largely around what is this new AI thing and what is Agentforce that we're talking about. Learn together. I'm sure there's some feedback some of you might be able to provide on early experiences and agents you might have already worked with that we can learn together, and then just explore possibilities. I think the part I'm most excited about is for us to kind of show you some of the beginning agents and use cases that we've built, and then take a look at what are all the possibilities that you may be able to think of. And there'll be some follow-up work around that as well. So the agenda, I think it's always good to know, being a former teacher, to kind of set the tone on what we're going to be talking about. So I know some of you joining know some things about Vera, some of you don't. So we're going to be providing a little bit of background. Vera has created some interesting responsible AI for nonprofit. Um, it's more of a set of ideas and thinking around how we've approached it. Kind of thinking about what is Agentforce, showing you. Alan will dig into showing you how it works and the operations behind the scenes. And then we'll show you adjusted rapid response case example that will be kind of our beginning point. And then we'll look at some other demos and discussion. And then we're going to talk about proof of concept builds if any of you are interested in engaging with us to think about doing some proof of concepts with us. We'll be interactive the whole time, but especially part two, we'll be asking you to join Menti and to think through helping us answer some questions. So first slide, I love this. I think this is exactly what we are seeing with thinking about AI. I know there are commercials in the USA where we are seeing famous stars and those get on and say, these are all the things you can do with Agentforce and with AI. And so we all start thinking, okay, here's this hammer we're being presented, and let's find some use cases and we can knock these things out. And I love the fact that most of our organizations, you and us, are still thinking that AI is out there, but we're still working with screws. And how do we change that thinking to where it's a nail? And we could even start with a small one where we can use AI to help us accomplish something. So, providing a little bit of background on Vera Solutions. So, Vera has been around for 15 years now. We have 6 global offices, 430 plus clients in 150 plus countries. So you can see the amount of staff is diverse across the world. We have about 10 of us in the US, 10 to 15, I think. And then across the rest of the globe, there are everything from largely developers to implementers to consultants, and then leadership, and then our business development team. So the focus originally came about from our founder, Zach Kaufman, working with a grassroots soccer, which was a very small organization in Africa, and it's actually right after he got out of college. And he experienced what a lot of you are experiencing when you went to look at impact data and when you went to try to report impact data and track moving from spreadsheets, piles and piles of spreadsheets that Zach experienced at the time. And since that time, developing the first systems on Salesforce, it's amazing growth 15 years later of what our footprint looks like with 145 staff in 6 countries. You also see that down the bottom are certifications, and we are the highest level of certification as a Salesforce implementation partner. Just some of the organizations that you can see through the years that we've served. I want everyone to be sure that we work with very large down to very small. Our goal is to join you in your mission and work together with our passions and yours to help you solve a lot of the issues that you saw on the previous screen so that we can help serve those around the world that your organization was formed for. Okay, turning it over to Alan to start talking a little bit about Vera and AI.
Yeah, so I would say we were a little bit conservative in the beginning, and it took us a little bit to internally at Vera start using AI. Nevertheless, in the last year or so, we have really picked up the pace, and now we have been using in our own processes. So there are 2 slides here around Vera and AI. One is us using it internally. The second one is more the Agentforce and us using it with our clients. So we started small, doing a small POC first and a pilot with our service delivery team. And for those of you who have not interacted with our service delivery team, they are the ones that after we implement a project or a client that already uses Salesforce, we have managed services with them. And the clients ask us for specific questions on Amp Impact or other Salesforce requests, and we open tickets in a tool called Jira. And the very first tool we developed, it was for AI to help those analysts to go through the previous tickets that we had in Jira and everything that we had learned from previous experience solving problems and solving tickets to our clients. So that was our very first one. More recently, we've launched the Vera Chat, and now it's a Vera-wide AI assistant that is able to draft emails for us, to search through our Confluence, which is the way we manage our documentation internally. And we are pretty happy already with that, but we continue. There is a dedicated team in our tech department that are still doing more solutions for our teams in general, including the business development team for us to do our work quicker. We've selected our own cloud infrastructure to be able to secure our operations and AI. So it follows OECD principles for safety and trust. And we are using small and open source models that definitely use much less energy. We are going to see a little bit later that AI does use a lot of energy. We have selected and made decisions internally to use the least possible energy. Then the next that's what we've been doing and we have achieved internally. Then when we think about Salesforce and the work we've been doing with AI and our clients, we have done a few illustrative Agentforce use cases first internally, and I'm going to show you a couple in later today. Um, and we are very happy to have launched the Agentforce for Amp Impact extension package. For those of you who don't know, Amp Impact is a managed package that Vera has developed over time, and we now have a plugin for Agentforce to review submissions within Amp Impact, which is free. It's available for use. And then the second one is just the proof of concept that we have been doing for multiple use cases. The one that is pretty prominent and we've been working and we will show to you today is with Justice Rapid Response. And they have basically decreased 10 times one specific process that they use to do or that they do using Agentforce. So that is going to be shown to you. And we are very happy to engage with you in these quick proof of concepts because we think they are important before you really mature in your AI journey.
Thanks, Alan. So switching back to thinking a little bit about something that I think will really be valuable to your organizations about, so how did Vera start with all the questions that we have and the things that were probably making us apprehensive and keeping us from being early adopters. And so there's a lot of experience, very in-depth experience between Vera's leadership and as well as the development team. And we came forward with internally at first these 9 principles for responsible AI. And I think it's really interesting to go through these to take a look at how these work for you, and then at the same time, how we can provide lessons that will help you with those. So going through the 9, starting with number 1, I think the one thing that all of our organizations being mission driven, we're very ethics and value focused and aware. So, making sure that we are not having a system that does not follow and believe the same things that our organization was started for. So involving your staff, local leaders in the design of these principles and thinking about how do we present ethical AI that keeps trust and relevant to the local context. So keeping your community, understanding the efficacy of the AI tools and sticking with the same value your organization was built on in your AI practices.
Cool. The second one is around transparency and explainability. So this is important in the sense that AI it can be dangerous and people need to know where the responses that they are getting comes from. So at Vera, for example, we have been discussing this quite a bit, and we want to document as well as we can and as clear as we can for those not technical who are using AI, so that once they get a response, they can trace that back and they can understand why they're getting that response. What were the documents or what were the large language models that were used for them to get that? So it's to ensure that people know why they're getting what they are getting and they can trace that back.
So fairness and bias mitigation, I think personally this one is really important to me because many of your organizations and of course Vera itself was built to encourage equity and to also serve disadvantaged organizations. So we want to make sure that the algorithms and the AI tools that we're building don't somehow lead to discriminatory outcomes in areas like hiring, lending, and law enforcement, those kind of things. So paying attention to bias and making sure we put our new tools through that lens.
Cool. Next one is privacy and data protection. Um, so I think the safety of the data is something that we are all very concerned, and it might be that if your organization is not far with AI yet, that might be one of the concerns. And yes, what we are bringing here is that, yes, it is very important that you think about that and that you have the highest standards possible for the privacy and protection of the data that you are doing that. Um, it's not a given that any tool that is out there is secure enough. So it's important that you have experts and tech folks in your team that are going to make sure that there are regulations and there is safety around all of that. There are some laws that help you with that and some best practices right now on how to do it. So we would encourage you to take a look at that as you are doing the process of implementing AI internally.
So social and environment impact, once again, kind of like the missions that we're focused on. Vera is a green organization, but we are very focused on our impact and our footprint. And so, as you saw there, where we built um, models that were using less energy consumption, because AI has been identified to use the searches use a lot of electricity and energy. So that's just one example. And so we have to be careful that we are not implementing tools that move against our core beliefs around our imprint in protecting the environment.
Next one, it is somewhat related to the number four, but here is more like we are talking about security and robustness of the AI or the infrastructure that is being implemented. You need to have processes and protocols for data breaches and misuse of the models. Again, the traceability is important. So you can go back and explain if there are issues in the process. So again, pretty technical for some folks. Important to have someone um, aligned and supporting you that do know the tech side of AI.
We're almost there, just a couple left. On the side, same thing with Alan was talking about number four. He was mentioning some of these best practices and laws that are out there. So there is ISO IEC 42001. We follow up with this presentation. There is a link in it for you that provides its international standards around risk assessments and standards that you can review and take a look at, making sure you're following as you enter this world.
Cool. Then we do want to make sure that there is human oversight and control. So internally at Vera, the way we've been doing this is for every time we use our Vera chat, there is the opportunity for the user to give feedback on what they have seen. Other things that we've discussed, we have not implemented yet, is to have like a list of questions that we know can test your model, and that might be related to bias as well, and um, that Mike had asked before. So if you ask that specific question to the model, what are they responding to you? And if you see that that response is biased and there is prejudice around it and racism and so on, you can course correct and you can adjust the model accordingly to make sure that you are not overseeing some important things. So it is important to have that ultimate control by humans and by people and not leave that solely to the models that you are implementing.
And the last one, before we ask you for some involvement in an exercise, operational value. And so once again, It can bring tangible benefits. There's efficiency, cost savings, and also better decision making. I think we're going to demonstrate some of that to you today for organizations that are using it. But at the same time, there should be aggressive testing so you have an understanding beforehand how this is working for you and that you're within the parameters of laws and rules and frameworks that make sense. So there is a framework that can be adapted. There's a link here once again, and it is just takes through some business use cases and provides some examples of possibilities um, within your system, how this might work for you on business use cases that are safe to begin with. Okay, now it's time to get you all doing something besides listening to Alan and I. So if you wouldn't mind, Kaya, putting in the chat the in the meeting chat, there should be a link to Menti, and there's also a code there for you. You can see at the top of the screen because we're going to get you involved in answering three questions. And really, the goal of this is to, for all of us, we don't know the answers to these. This is more, there is no right or wrong. The goal is for all of us to kind of think through what are we most apprehensive about at this time. So as Alan and I talked through those, your mind was probably working on um, what are the roadblocks for me or what is most concerning at this time. So we ask that you rank. This activity will allow you to rank the concerns that you have out of the 9 in order from 1 through whatever. We ask you only have to do the top 3, but if you want to do some more, then that's okay as well. So we'll give you a minute to do that. We'll take a look at the responses together.
Just to clarify, please take your mobile or um, open a new tab in your browser and use this code to get into Menti. Go to menti.com and then use the code that Mike had up, which we don't see right now, Mike,
Oh, sorry. Here it
but
is.
I can.
We posted in the chat.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, feel free to start ranking, and we are going to see our responses.
Question is usually, how do we know that whatever we're creating, the data is going to stay secure? And so I think Alan, when Alan talks about the agent itself and how the language model works, you'll see some of that should make you feel better about it. So this is open-ended question where you may be typing in. So one thing to note, you have to click a button or to move forward with the questions as I put them up. What roadblocks are stopping your organization? So like, why hasn't your organization, or maybe you have, but what roadblocks are stopping you from starting or from advancing maybe with creating an AI agent or using Agentforce? There we go. Great. Some great thinking up here already. So there are some things that resonate, and Alan, feel free to jump in. I think unsure where to start is why we're having this webinar today. I hope those of you who are attending are going to leave thinking, oh, here's how it works. Here's maybe a little more safe feeling about being an early adopter, because I do think it takes some early adopter thinking. And then defining use cases within and understanding how that fits in your budget. Yeah, definitely capacity as well. Like, who's going to do this? So yeah, Alan, feel free to jump in, or anyone else. We'd glad to have you come off of mute and talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, I really like to see, well, it's not, it's kind of expected, the unsure where to start or lack of knowledge within the team. Like if people are here, it's because they want to have that knowledge and they are looking forward to it. So yeah, we are glad. Hopefully this is adding a little bit of value, and the use cases we are going to see in a few minutes might help a little bit. I agree that like the ROI and people capacity to use and adoption time needed, yeah, those are all like related pieces. I would say we are here as a thought partner to help you through this. You don't have to necessarily um, buy a project from the very beginning. Mike and I are happy to talk to you about experiences that we've been having and have a few calls and conversations around that. And if you think it's the right time, then our recommendation, as you see later, is like a small proof of concept on how this could be used. And then you can show to your leadership like the ROI, you can have a better idea of how many people you need for this, how long does it take to roll this out, and all of that. So our recommendation suggestion in general is to start small and do some attempts and trials. I see someone wrote, well, we are using it individually. So I know that my colleagues and myself, we use ChatGPT to do our things. But is there a different approach that as an organization, we can use this in a different way? The answer is yes, we are doing this at Vera. And the advice is start small.
And I also really like the not currently aligned on a governance and poor data foundation. I think the governance part is can very much follow the lead of what Vera did with the nine principles, or use those to as a beginning after this to sort through some of the rules and regulations and such. I've also heard a lot of people with, well, we don't even have our data straightened out yet, or there's poor data quality in some places. And also at the same time, not everybody's even using Salesforce yet. So these are all very viable thinking that hopefully we can help you overcome a little bit. The last question kind of relates to that is what information and experience would help you move past the roadblocks? So what do you need to know? Like what do you need to know, or what do you need someone to help with so that you could begin experimentation and implementation? That's a great one. We all like to hear others' experience and feel a little safer that somebody else has tried it. Examples of use cases. So I think that is a big reason. Like I said, we had this, so there'll be a few for you that'll be really interesting to you, I think.
Um,
Yeah. Go
am
ahead,
I
Eric.
allowed so yeah,
Absolutely.
Alan, I think you kind of hit it with the starting small. So, um, I mean, when we think about all the potential use case of AI, there's so many, and the possibility is so grand that it's a little overwhelming. Just trying to understand, uh, like we were talking about, where to start, what could be useful for my organization. And so just there's a lot. I think there's a lot that I don't know, and so just having some tangible ideas of like, oh, that's something small that I could try at my organization makes it a lot less overwhelming, to just then try it and test it and not have to worry about making it this big grand thing that um, you have to plan for months and months and whatever before you're rolling something out. Just trying it, I think is kind of the big hurdle for me and my organization.
Nice. What organization are you at with, Eric?
So I work with Building Tomorrow. We
Yeah,
are a nonprofit organization focused on ensuring children are able to read and do math. And we currently are working specifically in Uganda and Rwanda, in East Africa. So we have reading and math programs, and we're very closely tied with the communities to put on those reading and math programs.
cool. Thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for jumping in, Eric. Appreciate it. Well, hopefully, Alan will be answering some of these things as we go through. We appreciate you us being have that chance to gather that and think as a group. And I'm going to let Alan share now, since he's going to be showing you some videos and use cases and such.
Cool. Thank you, Mike. So I'll skip that last slide, Mike, because we are a little bit behind in time.
Okay.
Um, So first, I'm gonna dig a little bit on Agentforce. I am hoping that most of you are Salesforce users or want to be, and Agentforce is the embedded AI functionality of Salesforce. There is no code needed to get you up and running, and all you need is to create some logic behind the system so that your users can start using Agentforce and writing prompts as we do in ChatGPT and getting answers within the context of your Salesforce org. So for the data that is within your Salesforce org, if you want to use something that is just on the web, it doesn't make sense for you to do it through Salesforce. So the Agentforce is specifically for your data that lives within Salesforce. So basically, there are some pre-built agents and topics and actions that will help your system administrator to set things up, but you can also customize and build your own agents. So that's this top part here, the pre-built and tools to customize. On the left side, we see some agent templates that are part of the clouds of Salesforce, including the nonprofit cloud for fundraising, for grant making. Like there are some use cases for agents that will help you, for example, summarize a donor profile that's pre-built, or give you answers like, okay, what's the probability or the propensity for this specific donor to becoming a recurring donor, for example. So some things are already there, others you can customize. There are some topics that you can use. So you can, it's summarization or knowledge search and some other ones. And then specific action. So please draft an email. It's already pre-built. There's not a lot of things that you need to do in the back end for that. Or please look up a specific record, or please update a field. Those are things that are pre-built and help you with your agent builder. So agent builder is basically a component or a functionality that is in the backend for the system administrator to build your use case. Then there is the reasoning engine that is also part of what is needed to build an agent. The next one here, we can see a little bit how Agentforce would work. And across the top, you have, okay, there is first a conversation, then it will plan, there is the execution, and then the outcome, which is the answer. Here is an example of a user asking the status of an order. So a client has bought something online, and then they go online and ask, hey, what's the status of my order? Then the plan is the agent will pick the right topic. But there are some instructions, like when a customer is asking that, I need to make sure that I have their email address because I have to verify that and so on. So you put those instructions in the back end, then it executes. It will go through the orders object within Salesforce. It will make sure that there is a recognition of the products, is there a return order, and so on. It will not only give the link to the user, but rather it will go externally, for example, and use ChatGPT or Gemini to enrich the action of that data and give the outcome, which is the response, in a conversational mode. So in this case, your order has been shipped and will be arriving in 10 days. The next one that I think this became very like when there was some blur on my head around how this Agentforce worked. These light helped me a little bit or quite a bit. So there are the apps on your Salesforce here on the left side. When you enter a prompt or ask a question in the system, there is all this process that it will go. Everything is like most of these things happen within your Salesforce org. and it just leaves your Salesforce org to use the large language models that are externals. Um, so there is a lot of security, as we can see here. There is grounding on what is being asked. There is change of sensitive data so that things don't go out. There is zero retention in Salesforce is the one that is guaranteeing that happens. It goes out, it uses the models outside, and then it brings back the response. There is some detection of toxicity and bias and all of that. You can audit, and then there is back the response. So I didn't say in the beginning, but like Vera, Salesforce themselves were a little bit behind on the AI conversation, and they were not super quick to release this. It's because they were making sure that all this security and the privacy was done in a good way, and they have achieved that right now. Like we've been implementing, and we are very happy that this is already happening. This slide shows a little bit like the main differences between the chatbots, copilots, and Agentforce. So basically, chatbots had very specific and fixed rules. So you would go online, there was a pop-up asking you a question. You would have in the back end to program every single option and then what responses there would be. With copilots, it was a little bit more conversational, but still pretty specific. With Agentforce and the use of large language models, these changed quite a bit. Now there is like reasoning, there are like open questions that you can make. There are multiple actions that the system will take, not only prompts or responses to prompts, and you can scale much more. It is really like quite different the way you structure the rules behind it and also what is possible to be done. It's not like if this, then this, if this, then this. It's much more than that. Here are some use cases. I'm not going to stop to stay here because I want to share the actual demos of the systems themselves. Let me stop here and see if there are questions. I'm not looking at the chat. And feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions or make comments before I jump into the cases. Nope. Okay. So as I said, Justice Rapid Response is one of our clients. They are a nonprofit organization, pretty robust. They're international, and their focus is on international crimes. They investigate that. They don't do it themselves. They have many partners and lawyers throughout the world that support them to do those investigations. They've been using Salesforce for several years. They're a client of ours for a long time. And basically, they came to us and said, hey, I think there is a use case for Agentforce. We have profiles of legal experts that have multiple experiences. They are specialized in some thematic areas. There is geographic locations that they are better at. There are languages that they speak. We have to search those experts manually right now and then assign those experts to specific project deployments, as they call them. Um, and it takes us a long time to do this match. Can you help us? We said, yes, we can help. And this is what we built to them. I'm going to show a video, which is right here.
Hi everyone. This is a short demo of how JRR is using Agentforce to streamline their process of generating expert skill set summaries and monitoring and evaluation summaries. Let's look at the first use case, which is skill set summary for experts. An expert working with JRR is stored as a contact on Salesforce. All of the related details that are related to the profile of the contact, like the country expertise, the legal system expertise, employment history, languages spoken, and so on, are stored on custom objects with different record types. All of this data needs to be consolidated, and then a skill set summary for each expert needs to be generated, which JRR then uses to evaluate the summaries and then deploy them into multiple assignments. JRR is now using Agentforce to do all of this process. Agentforce will go in, look at all of the details related to the expert, and generate a skill set summary for the expert in a predefined format. Let's take a look at a quick example. Carlos is an expert stored as a contact on Salesforce. All of the details related to Carlos, like employment details, the language spoken, the nationality, expert details, all of these details are stored on custom objects with different record types. Now, to generate an expert skill set summary, users can just use Agentforce to do the entire process. So users can just say, generate expert summary for this expert number in narrative form, and Agentforce instantly generates the expert summary.
Tô num webinar, não consigo falar.
All of the details that are within the custom object are all now summarized here. As you see here, there is details related to employment, details related to expertise, and so on. Let's now look at the second use case, which is generating.
Okay, for now we're going to look at the first use case only. And let's move on to another org and another example. So here I have an organization. This is Amp Impact for those of you who are not familiar with it. Is out. And basically we have organizations which are my accounts, applications or grants. This is a grants management system, as you can see here. And if I navigate, for example, to DMPC California, an organization, I can see the context related to this organization. I can see some assessments that we are using, submissions, which is a Vera Solutions specific tool for Amp Impact. We have bank accounts, we have applications and grants. So to access Agentforce, I basically come here to this icon in the top right. When I click on it, there is space for me to enter prompts. And in this specific case, I would like to start by just asking Agentforce to summarize the history of grants, for example. Let me copy and paste the prompt so I don't have to type it in and it goes faster. Give me 1 sec. Here we go. So if I say, please summarize DMPC California, summarize grant history. When I hit enter, it will go, it will take that prompt. We'll see all the data within this record. And then instead of having me navigating and reading through multiple tabs and navigating to multiple records, it can just give me a summary of all of that. So it gives some fields from the details. It goes to the contact object that is related. It lets me know who is the primary contact, what are other contacts related to that. It gives me what submissions are related and some other information. If I want to keep going and then let's say I want a recommendation to match some projects that the MPC could be as a funder. I could have this prompt, for example, provide a recommendation on the type of grants where GMPC is likely to excel. It will then use the history of these grants that they have already done and give me a summary around that. So based on the grant history and the thematic areas that is covered by DMPC, which is another object, here is the type of grants that they are likely to excel. And if I want to polish this or to have this like in less words, I can say, can you please reduce the length of your last response? And then hopefully it will give me the same thing, but with less. There you go. So with less words. So same way you talk to ChatGPT, you can do similarly here and have it like polish and use other words and so on. Next one I wanted to see is if I have an actual grant, which is the MPC Small Scale Computer Grant. Let me show you where that is. So here's a list of grants. One of them is this one. So not an organization anymore, but rather a grant with lots of details around reporting periods, organization roles, project roles, allocations, like how much money am I spending? So if I want a summary of, and then I have like a tab for impact, the indicators that it has, again, this is all part of AMP Impact results and all of that. If I don't want to spend time looking through this, but rather have a summary, can do, hey, please retrieve all data related to this grant. It will go through all of this information and summarize this to me. So the amount, description, everything that is related. So on the project indicators, for example, look, it's very interesting. It says, hey, there are metrics such as number of individuals attending digital job sessions, visiting computer labs, and so on. They even go to the sub-grants. There is a couple more. Let me show you another one, which we are pretty proud of that Mike has developed for a prospect client. And this is to match, to navigate to the Elton John AIDS Foundation. So Elton John AIDS Foundation, they're a funder, and we have to match them with a list of projects that they could potentially fund. I have all the projects in my system. And as an organization, I say, hey, the Elton John AIDS Foundation focuses on these geographic areas, and they have interests in these themes. Can you please let me know which projects within our system could be good projects for them? So the prompt could be, which projects would you recommend for the Elton John AIDS Foundation? When I do that, it starts searching through my basis of projects, which is a separate object. It is matching this case on these two objects that I said with these tags. Then it gives me a list of projects, which are in this case applications and grants. So it basically says, hey, the Elton John Age Foundation has a range of interests. Here are their thematic areas, the geographic areas, and here are the applications that I'm matching or the projects that I'm matching. So if we do view more, it will basically list all the ones that it matches. If I open one of them, the scholarship program, for example. Oh, we're almost at time. You see that if I go to setup, that's where, so California is there and is here, access and inclusion is here, and so on. Cool. We went over basically everything what we needed. Shall we get here, Mike,
Yeah,
quickly?
just real
Yeah.
quick, if there's just a little bit of time, people want to ask questions. Just as a follow-up to this, we are helping with proof of concepts to be a thought partner. We basically, like the case Alan just showed you, we talk through your use case and your requirements. We configure for you like a beginning agent. And then we work with you once we have a small demo for you to provide a full rollout and expand the use case. I think what's important here is that the strength of our developers' ability to work with the model, the agent model, and provide guardrails so that it's direct to what you're trying to search and find. And so our experience there can be helpful to you. And on the next slide, Alan, it's just anybody can get started with it. You just install the foundations package, hop on a brainstorm call with one of us and talk about, is there a use case where maybe we could build proof of concept for you? We're doing these at very, very, very low cost because it's early on, and we're just hoping to learn together, and something that we can move forward for other clients. You got 1 minute for questions? No. Questions. We would really enjoy hearing what you might want to know.
This is Sandrine from CRS. I know it says Andy Gross, but I'm feeling it from hi Alan and Chris and everybody else and Michael. I have a quick question. I'm interested in what you guys did. You don't have to answer that now. We can do a follow-up with Chris and the team. What you guys did with the Jira use case, because there's a lot of conversations around Jira. We're integrating Jira now with ServiceNow and with all of our organizational structural change. So I just wanted to know what you guys did there to see what your results were and the outcome. Knowledge base is a huge thing that would help the team, especially in this time. If there's a way for us to leverage, something like an agent to learn from past tickets and sort of extrapolate from that. And I owe Chris a follow up, but I'm really looking forward to really hopping on that call to really talk about how we leverage foundations to kind of play around with agent. For us, it's really the barrier is really around developing those use cases. So those are my two things, and thank you for the call today.
Yeah, Christine. Yeah, Sandrine, thank you so
Sandrine.
much. Chris can follow up. We can definitely get someone who built actually that, and we can demo to you how it's working. Go ahead, Chris.
No, yeah, I was just going to say the same. So I'm happy to show, and I was part of the training, the testing team as well. So I can navigate you through the process, Sandrine. Let's do it.
And others as well, if you're interested, we can do a larger session specifically on that Jira.
Hi, Laurie.
Tickets.
Nice to see you there.
Cool. Lauren, Alicia, any comments, thoughts, questions? Hi, my friend. Cool. Okay, maybe we can wrap then. Kai and Mike, thank you.
Yes, we will put this out to those who attended, those who couldn't, and feel free to share. Definitely reach out to us with any, even just conversations about how we might be able to help.
So the sun will come back out?
Thank you.
If you have a shaker at home.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.